providing special education services is extremely expensive. And one of the reasons that is because we have learning assistance teachers that are required, special assistance teachers, supports and materials, but also in many cases an educational assistant. So a lot of this, a lot of the ways of navigating and maneuvering the decline of teachers was by putting in educational assistants to provide those supports, but not always on a one-to-one basis, and in fact rarely on a one-to-one basis. So that was where the funds were diverted. But we should understand too, and I think I'm a parent of a child with severe special needs, and as I've told you before, and I think I was under the misapprehension that the funding was attached to my child, but it's not. It goes to the district, and the district distributes the funds. So when parents say, well, my child comes with funding, the reality is that that's not true. The districts use it for whatever purposes that they see fit. And there's no accountability for the district to say, I spent this child's funds in such and such a way. The audit does not account for that.
I had another question. Okay, someone else is jumping up. I just wanted clarity, and this is by no means, as you know, a reflection of BCTF or teachers or school districts, but I think people need to be aware that while all those teachers come into the system, in many cases there is no place to put said teachers. And there's no money to fund the things to house said teachers. Mm-hmm. So it's a win, but it comes at it creates a ripple that's not addressed. And I mean, I know you're aware and I'm aware, but it's that's a problem for sure.
I just wanted to comment about your question about special needs driving the private school education industry, as it were. We do a lot of research on this and are finding that this is actually the case. So your anecdotes bear out. And multiple anecdotes, I'm sure, bear out in the statistics that we're seeing. Inclusion BC just released a press release on this, that it's being driven not by brick and mortar schools, but by online learning. I was just telling colleagues today that I received a FOI from the government that showed that, for example, the largest distributed learning school for children with special needs is a private school, self-design, had grants of, in 2010, had a grant of 1.79 million. Last year had 16.9 million, and that's all driven by children, for the most part, with special needs that are being homeschooled. So we have a new type of voucher system in place because children with special needs can port their entire, I can't access my child's grant in the public system, but if I take it over to the private system, it gets given to that school dollar for dollar. So that 38,000, this 18,000, or the 9,000, if I take a child to a private school, we'll get the entire grant. So just to give a sense of what's going on there, Heritage Christian Online School went from $2 million last year, $15.7 million in a 5-year period. That's a huge amount of growth, and it's being driven by kids whose parents anecdotally are doing exactly what you might have expected.
And
so,
what that tells us is that it's actually, from a parent's point of view, a rational decision to move your child out of the public school, where that funding gets diluted across the system to the private system, where it's going to go directly. It's actually a rational decision to make the move.
It's a voucher system that they're leveraging, and when you have also a government that's giving private schools that $1 million that they gave to specific private schools as well, you're now more incentivizing parents of children with special needs to exit the public school system, and rather than actually supporting a public school system that's universal and accessible.
And we're also, industry's also making profit then on the backs of some of our most vulnerable children and families.